What is up, everyone? Animal here, and today we're going to be talking about Etalus in terms of where I think he is in the meta, where I think he is in a relative tier list, and maybe even talk about some of his matchups. Now, first, if you don't know, I got accepted to the creator program for Rivals of Aether 2, so if you use code ANIMAL in the shop, you would help support me, and that would be pretty amazing. So use code ANIMAL on any skin that you want to buy to support me. Now, let's get started. Before I start going into the exact tier list, I kind of want to talk about my progression with Etalus and how I think he's evolved in the meta. Because I've had some frustration with the discussion and discourse around the character. Now, when Etalus came out, I've always felt like he's had the tools to succeed and to win. Whether that meant he was high or low on a tier list, I didn't really care about. Relatively, or like if you were to ask me honestly, I probably would obviously say he was near the bottom, but I didn't think that really mattered. What mattered is that he had tools to win. I was winning, and he definitely had potential. I don't think he was a bad character. However, I had people tell me that the character I'm playing on release wasn't even a character, was a half finished character, was an awful character. Uh, you know, basically telling me I wasn't playing a real character, and which is their opinion. They don't know Etalus as well as I was kind of playing him, right? And it didn't matter what they thought because I was winning. I saw the tools. I saw the potential. But what got frustrating was that I would go into these high level grind servers and try to get matches, and I would get straight up ignored. People would basically ignore my pings for matches, and I would get told, well, it's not worth really playing you because we're not going to see Etalus in bracket that much. Granted, this was even after a few patches where he did get some buffs, and I still was beating quite a lot of people. But yeah, people felt like he's basically a low tier, and it's not worth playing you. It's kind of a waste of time because we're not going to see many Etaluses in the higher end of brackets. He's not really that relevant. So these same people who are basically ignoring my request to play and saying that my character is not relevant, which is whatever, it's their opinion. um, you know, a patch or two later, where Etalus did receive a few nice quality of life buffs. I don't think anything groundbreaking, but did receive some nice buffs. These same people are now telling me that Etalus is insane. Etalus is out of control good. He is super busted. And it's kind of confusing to go from your character is not worth playing against, you're playing half a character, to your character is insane and busted and needs to be nerfed. These people are having a humongous swing in opinion, and for me, there has been steady and some nice buffs for sure, but I think my opinion has stayed pretty consistent of yeah, he has tools to win. He's always had tools to win. The tools have gotten better for sure. But to say that he's broken and busted, especially compared to the rest of the cast, is a bit hyperbolic to say the least. So I don't want to do a super specific tier list, but I will tell you who do I think is clearly better than Etalus. That's what I'll do. I'll tell you who do I think is clearly better than Etalus, and then I'll give you an idea of where I think he is, relative to the other people. So we can just put Zetter out of the way. Zetterburn is an insane character. Rano, insane character. I think Maple, clearly an insane character. And I would put Claren as these characters are the ones who I consider to be above and beyond the best in the game and have very strong tools. Now, moving from here, it gets a little trickier. I'm going to definitively say maybe someone like I think Olympia has a lot of potential. Even though I think Etalus uh, does have an okay matchup versus Olympia because of how volatile it is and how destructive up air can be. But Olympia's neutral is disgustingly good. And overall, versus the entire cast, I think Olympia is just good. I think you can make an argument for Raster. I'm not 100% sure. Um, Raster's tough because he's received a lot of nerfs, I know, throughout the time. I don't know enough about Raster, and I'm not going to pretend like I know all the specifics of his nerfs. So anywhere I place this is just based off vibes, and a lot of this for me is just based off vibes. Like I'm not someone who spends a lot of time thinking about tier list because I don't think it impacts how I play one way or another. So not really worth talking about too much. But I think based off vibes, I think Raster could be like in this area. And then I think like, you could put everyone else, like I'd put probably something like this. The exact order in this B area is totally up to you. Like if you want to put Etalus on top of this B, if you even want to put Etalus like in front of Raster, I'm not sure if I agree, but like I don't think it's egregious. Like if you want to put Etalus in this like A category over here, sure, it's your opinion. Like it could be. But this gives you a general sense of where I think he is. I think he's somewhere in this middle. I think he could be better than Orcane. I think he could be better than Forceburn. I think probably better than Crag. Probably better than Fleet. Definitely better than Loxodont. So, like, this gives you a general sense. I do think Olympia is a strong character with a lot of amazing tools. But I do think Etalus is, like, right in the middle of the pack. This is a great spot to be in. Like, this is awesome. I think his power level is probably the power level most characters. I think if most characters were at this power level, I think it'd be perfect balancing, you could say. If you want to balance a little higher, like the devs want to balance a little higher, like aim higher as like everyone to be around, sure. But like, I also think Etalus is like a very good example of like a character with like very strong strengths and but clear weaknesses as well. Like there's very clear disadvantages to Etalus that can be exploited, but plenty of tools to succeed and do well and be meta relevant. So this gives you an idea of where I think Etalus is like roughly in the tier list. Again, nothing is strictly ordered per se, but Etalus somewhere in this area, and some people could argue in this area, and I think that's fine. And if someone else like had like Force Burn or like Orcane ahead, that's also fine. I don't think that's like, I don't think that's wrong necessarily, like, or I don't think it's bad. But I think in this general area is good. I definitely wouldn't put him like towards the bottom. Like I wouldn't put him over here. I think he's more like over here. So that's my opinion on tier list. Let's go matchups. I don't like doing +2, +1 because this is again, anyone who does these matchup charts and swears by it and tells you like this is truth is absolutely lying to you, because this is all based on vibes. This is just based on like experiences that like are imperfect, biases without a doubt. These characters, their metas are not fully developed. Our understanding of these characters have not been fully pushed. No one is playing every matchup perfectly, right? So take this with a grain of salt, in a way, in terms of how well I think each character does or doesn't do. Take this with a big grain of salt. I'm not claiming this is truth. I'm not claiming this is fact by any means. All right, so let's do. I really don't even think this is like enough tiers to accurately like say. Maybe can I add? Can I add? No. Okay. If I could have added one, but this will just have to do. This will have to do. All right. So let me put this back at 0. Okay. So matchups. Let's start with matchups. I think he does well in. I wouldn't call it +2, honestly. Like, I probably would do like plus 0.5, +1. So in this +1 category, I'll probably put Force Burn. Let's just like, get these characters out of the way. I think Force Burn is a very good matchup for Etalus, just because of how easy the offstage is. However, the reason why I don't think it's like a +2 or anything is because Force Burn on stage is very dangerous. Like, Force Burn can wall out with really good spacing. A lot of Edalus's attempts of approaching the clones can be super helpful. Force Burn has very good edge guards on Etalus. Can juggle for days. Like, it basically puts Etalus in like an unskippable cutscene when the juggling starts. So there's a lot of Force Burn can do on stage that I think actually is decently difficult for Etalus, but the on stage isn't that bad for Etalus. Not enough for like it's an even matchup. Like, I do think Etalus does fine in neutral and does extremely well in the edge guarding, so that's why I think it's a +1. But there are tools like Force Burn can, while we're recovering for days, develop the smoke rest, the smoke explosion, if you will. And Edgeguard is that way. The onstage has a lot of tool with back air, with fair, with just some like really good spacing. Can compete in the neutral, so I put him there. For plus 0.5, I'm gonna put 0.5 so it's easier to see. I'll put Loxodont. This matchup's pretty close to even, although most Loxodonts might feel like it's their worst matchup. This is personally my favorite matchup, and I think it's pretty close to even. The reason why it's pretty close to even is because if you play top Loxodon players, like you play Asago, let's say, his ability to keep out Etalus is actually insane. Like, he makes the neutral feel very difficult and also very punishing. Like, Loxodon has flowchart combos off of up throw that feel like almost 0 to deaths. They feel super, super punishing. All that is to say, though, I do think Etalus can maneuver in the neutral as well. Like, I do think the neutral could be close to even, but the edge guarding, I will give the edge to Etalus, of course. It's Etalus' biggest strength, so edge guarding is going to be a big factor in every one of these matchups. So I would give the edge to Etalus for sure, but Loxodon can also edge guard Etalus very well, which is something that I think most Loxodon players need to develop more. I think so many Loxodon players just like stay on stage and just like try to fling meatballs, but there's a lot Loxodon can do to edgeguard Etalus. But I think it is like slightly Etalus favored. Like, I think this is overall a positive matchup for Etalus, but it's close. Like, Loxodon has many tools to win and can win. Things that are neutral. Let's do neutral. Let's move. I mean, I guess Etalus obviously has to stay here. Let me just move these characters out of the way, and I'll bring some of them back for the discussion. I think Crag is neutral. This could be plus 0.5, actually. this could be in this situation as well. I'll leave it here. Yeah, I'll leave it here. Crag is an interesting one to deal with. Pretty annoying, pretty volatile. Both absolutely destroy each other. But I think because of Etalus' mobility and the edge guarding, I think ultimately this is a positive matchup for us. Although I do think Loxodon's easier than Crag, but that might just be personal preference. I don't play as many Crags, but I think not a bad matchup for Etalus by any means. I think Arcane is like in this like 0 to minus 0.1. I'll leave him here for now. Fleet, I'm going to put here. This matchup is interesting. I think this is very close to even. Maybe minus 0.5. So let me just make a minus 0.5 area. Let me put Fleet here. All right, so let's talk about Fleet next, and then I'll see if anyone I think is like pure even. Fleet destroys Etalus off stage. However, I don't think I've been handling the off stage well. On stage is fine. On stage, the neutral is actually like pretty decent for Etalus, even maybe even Etalus favored. So I'm gonna put this here. I think like the only real disadvantage is like, my God, can Fleet edgeguard Etalus, but we also have a surprisingly good edgeguard on Fleet as well, and also our on stage isn't bad. Like we really could win as long as like we avoid the few death spot edge guards, which again, way easier said than done. I played Babats, who we've had close sessions, but ultimately him pulling away because like his edge guarding was just way more superior, and Cake Assault murdered me as well. But I will say I felt that the neutral and my edge guarding, the tools are there. So I think this is close. Whether you put this even or negative 0.5, I think both are valid. Arcane. This is a tough one. I actually think this could be neutral as well. Etalus has some pretty interesting tools to like be able to edgeguard Arcane pretty well, especially in our ability to like cover puddle with our dash attack jump momentum. When they do go to puddle, we can cover it a lot of the times. Neutral isn't that bad. We have very good combos on Arcane. We actually are even able to keep Arcane out with F-Tilt decently well. So I don't think this matchup's that terrible. I'm going to put it at like close to neutral. I'm going to say even... This was Olympia's tough because I think Olympia is very underdeveloped, and I think a lot of people just don't know the matchup. I'm gonna put Olympia at negative 0.5. Olympia should be absolutely dominating neutral. Olympia's neutral feels so oppressive that even starting what I want to do in neutral feels extremely hard to deal with. So I think, and also like Olympia can edgeguard Etalus extremely well. Basically free up B kills. Like I'm just kind of a sitting duck as I come down. So I think Olympia actually has pretty amazing tools versus Etalus. Although so do we. Like we combo Olympia basically to death. I mean, at any percent, Olympia could possibly be in death range because of our edge guarding and because how quickly up air kills. So it's not like we don't have tools. We absolutely have tools. If people want to put this even, wouldn't complain. I think maybe it's negative 0.5 because I just think like Olympia players, I haven't played many that are amazing at the Etalus matchup. I think if they were better at the Etalus matchup, they'd find more success. But Olympia as a character, I think, like does decently well. And then I'd maybe put Raster. Raster here, I think we actually don't do that bad versus Raster. We can wall out Raster pretty well. Because Raster's in the air a lot, Icicles actually work really well versus Raster compared to like any other character. Just for how airborne they always are. We can edge guard Raster very well. There's many situations where they're forced to do not the side B, but the neutral B recovery. There are many situations where they're kind of forced to do that tornado, where we could just jump down and kill them. But they have crazy edge guards versus us, of course, whether it just be like comboing us off the side or, of course, the dare spike. We can avoid the dare spike with the up B air dodge, but they could also bait it out. It gets tricky. Ultimately, I think Raster has a slight advantage, but I don't think it's a big advantage by any means. I don't think this is a big advantage at all. So I think our ability to kind of like do decent on stage versus Raster and our decent edge guarding. Like neutral's not terrible. We can wall out with fair, make their life difficult. We can combo them, make their life difficult. We can edge guard them, but their combos on us most leads into kills more often, and their edge guarding I think leads to kills more often. I'm gonna put. This is kind of tough. All right, I think I'm going to leave it like that. Now, there might be appropriate for a space of like -2 for some of these. So I'm going to order this very specifically and just assume the people at the end are like -2, you could say. So in the frontier, I'll put Zetterburn. I actually think we do well versus Zetter because we can wall out Zetter and like combo Zetter extremely well. Like we do both well, where like when we need to keep Zetter out from the pressure, we can, and when we need to get in and combo Zetter, we can. Of course, it's Zetter burn, so it's volatile. When Zetter gets in on us, like those combos hurt and hurt badly, and they can edge guard us pretty well. But our edge guarding is better. Our edge guarding is just better. So that gives us that advantage. The advantage Zetter has is that's like they can bait out so many of our options with their movement, and their combos lead to more death on stage. Like their ability to combo into up smash, their kill throw with forward throw, get us in shield, force us to shield, and just kill us off a throw is pretty insane. So Zetterburn's speed and Zetterburn's ability to like combo to death are a bit higher than Etalus's, but we have a lot of tools. We have a lot of tools to deal with Zetterburn pretty well. You could even argue Zetterburn's in like -0.5. If you put Zetterburn -0.5, I think that's totally valid. It's in this borderline. It's not a terrible matchup for us. I actually enjoy the matchup. So if you want to put it here, yeah, we can put it, we'll put it here, and the true bad matchups can be down here. Of these true bad matchups, I think Clarin is probably the easiest of these next two. Clarin is very tough to deal with in neutral. It requires an insane amount of patience. And the edge guarding is probably harder than most of these characters. It's harder to exploit, especially since the up air changes where you could tech the wall. Do we have tools? Yeah, like our fair can be a good tool to wall them out. We can get combos, although Clarin is a funny little combo percent. It's not like as juicy as some of these other characters, but it is a combo percent that you can make work. The trouble with Clarin is just like her ability to keep us out with like down tilts, jabs is extremely well, and they don't have to really be that committal. Like when Clarin overcommits, Clarin will get punished. If Clarin doesn't overcommit, it is extremely difficult to punish. And I think that's going to be like a common theme in this row here. And I'll just say, I played Boyko, and his Clarin and his ability to combo, like, it is death. Like, it is the combo strings are like the degree of punishment. It is easier for Clarin to punish harder than it's easier for Etalus to punish harder, in my opinion. So, yeah, one of our toughest matchups. I would say next is Rano. Rano is our second worst matchup, probably. Rano, what makes Rano difficult, really is just like, obviously, like the speed, the back air, the mix up between like attacking and grabbing and getting a lot off the grabs, but it's the needles. When Rano decides not to approach, this matchup feels insane. Or even if Rano decides to chill on platforms, it feels very difficult for Etalus to deal with. Now, most players have a hard time committing to any of those strategies because they just may not be used to it. They may not find it fun, may not be their comfort zone. But these strategies are powerful. These strategies are very powerful of camping, basically. I think Etalus in general, across the board, has a tough time dealing with camping. And I think these next two characters just happen to be like amazing at doing it. So a Rano that is patient and a Rano that's like really using needles well, I think is very hard to deal with. Not impossible though. Like, I don't want to say any of these matchups are like not winnable or like find a find a secondary for these matchups. That's not what I'm saying. I think Etalus can do all these matchups, and I've had success. I've beat Strikey quite a few times in ranked this season. My training partner is a Rano player, so I have a lot of Rano experience. So I don't think this is unwinnable, but I do think it is difficult. The edge guarding is pretty brutal. We get rinse repeated. We can kind of edge guard Rano too as well though. Like, our edge guarding is not bad, and when we do get in on Rano, we can definitely punish hard. But I think Rano overall just like has a way easier time in neutral and an easier time edge guarding. And Maple, I think, is our worst matchup. I think the neutral is extremely difficult. A Maple that's patient is, might as well give me nightmares. I think this would be like close to -2, personally. Maple's forward tilt just beats so many of our moves. It's not even the dash attack that's scary. It's really the forward tilt that's scary. So they're fast enough to kind of avoid anything they want while being able to kind of like whiff punish, jump over our attacks and our approaches. Back air is insane. Up air murders us. Off stage, the double dip fair is just so hard to deal with. And Maple can, like, if we go high, Maple can just up air and like string combos from that. If we go like kind of like a medium distance, they can just like hop off fair, rinse, repeat that fair until they can double fair and just kill us. It is very, very difficult to deal with recovering versus a Maple. Or they can even up B us if we go high. So I think the on stage is brutal. Like, a camping Maple is tough. Like, if the Maple's not camping and they're approaching and we're scrapping, we can scrap with Maple. It's not as bad. But like Maple, like fully fighting against Etalus and using all the tools and like matchup knowledge against Etalus, like, I think this is a brutal matchup. Again, not unwinnable. I've had success versus Maples. It's not like I can't beat. I'm not gonna ever think about picking up another character versus a Maple. It's not what I'm saying. Just compared to the rest of the cast, I think this is the hardest. But I guess I'll end it there. I'm just about almost at a half hour. So that was my general tier list, and this is my general matchup chart. Again, you could float some of these characters in different spots, and I wouldn't complain. But this is just like a general idea of what I think the matchup chart looks like. Hope you enjoy the video. Hope you enjoy the content. And again, please use code ANIMAL in the shop to support me. Would love to keep making videos. And I appreciate everyone who does watch these videos. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.